Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. This is Strategic Plan Connect and HSI Initiatives. I'm Andrea Romero, Vice Provost for Faculty Affairs. I'm really happy to be here with you today, especially this week. I have to share that our book just came out, like officially. I don't have it in hand, but it's on the web. A book that I've been working on with Dr. Marcella Rodriguez for many, many years now, called Advancing Educational Equity for Students of Mexican Descent. So this work is near and dear to my heart. It has been for a really long time. I'm really excited to be partnering with Dr. Marla Franco and HSI Initiatives with the Office of Faculty Affairs through the Office of the Provost for the last several years, particularly with the funding that we received through strategic initiatives. So we're really grateful to President Robbins and putting this fund aside, and particularly to designate funds for HSI with a particular focus on faculty that we're going to tell you more about today. I want to thank the Office of Strategic Initiatives for hosting this event. Thank you all. I want to thank everyone who's here in the room with us and all of you out there in Zoomlandia. Thank you for joining us. We are going to have some more discussion towards the end of the panel. So hang on to those questions. We will be opening up time at the end for the Q&A. Those of you who are on Zoom, feel free to post any questions or comments in the chat. Dr. Judy Marcus-Kiyama is on our panel, but you can see her on Zoom. She's not here with us in the room today. And she will be responding and organizing the comments and questions that come in through Zoom. So I want to start first with a land acknowledgement. I don't know if there's slides. There's no slides. Okay. All right. So I just want to acknowledge first that we are on the land and territories of Indigenous peoples. I'm sorry, I don't have the full official land acknowledgement in front of me today. Many of you may realize that the University of Arizona worked very closely with the 22 federally recognized tribes across Arizona to craft a land acknowledgement that everybody agreed on. This acknowledgement was reviewed and vetted by Native students, faculty, and staff here at the University of Arizona as well. And so we take that very seriously. It's something really embedded in everything we do, and something of high relevance, especially for HSI initiatives and how we think about a very broad definition of servingness and So originally, this HSI initiative came to me through Dr. Marla Franco, who had been working already with many others on campus to put together this proposal that was actually much broader than focus on faculty. It, encompassed things related to students and staff and faculty. And what ended up being funded was very focused on faculty. In fact, it was a very particular kind of cluster hire for faculty around HSI initiatives. And so when that came through, they said, well, you have to really find a way to partner with faculty affairs. They're the ones who do the hiring. And so, once we sat down, I was like, oh my God, yes, of course, like I love this stuff. How could we not, we could do this and so much more, because we're already making big efforts to make changes for greater equity across faculty affairs and all the work we do, from hiring to advancement and retention of faculty. So it just made complete sense for us to come together. This initiative is situated within Pillar 3 of the strategic plan, which is known as the Arizona Advantage. All initiatives within this pillar are focused on advancing our land grant mission to drive social, cultural, and economic impact. So when we first got this, we had this idea to hire somebody within faculty affairs who could drive a lot of system level change across all areas of faculty, as well to help organize the faculty cluster. Well, we didn't know around the corner the pandemic was coming. Literally, we hired Dr. Judy Marcus-Kiyama, who's the Associate Vice Provost for Faculty Advancement with a focus on HSI through this initiative. She was hired, I think, a couple weeks before we went into quarantine in March of 2020. So we're really grateful she still came But that really changed the focus of the money, because there was a lot of shifting with the financial situation with strategic initiatives. And so once we started that fall, we no longer had sufficient funds to do like cluster hire. And so we really came together, me and Marla and Judy, to put our heads together to think about, what do we do with the opportunity we do have at hand? And how do we have the greatest impact? And I think you're going to hear more about that today. Marla is going to talk more about the origins of this. And the faculty that are with us today are going to talk more about what it's meant for their own experience, their own involvement, and the way that they brought others on board as well. And Dr. Kiyama is going to talk to us as well about the specific initiatives and opportunities that she's developed and co-created through this initiative. HSI initiatives is very important to the University of Arizona. We've had federal designation as an HSI since 2018, in a large part due to Marla's efforts to put it together, which started like 100 years ago, right? But also really actively and directly started with federal funding in 2017 through an HSI development grant that really kind of brought people together and led to that submission for the federal designation. We have to resubmit every year. We've gotten it every year since then. In fact, the fundamental decision on this is based on whether we have 25% or more undergraduate Latinx undergraduate students. And that percent representation of students on campus has only grown since 2018. So we're very excited to see that and have this opportunity to not only have the HSI designation, but many of the other things that come along with it. In 2019, we received the Seal of Excelencia, which designated us amongst our peers nationally as really doing an excellent job on several different metrics in terms of servingness that went way beyond just representation. So that was something that really brought more attention, especially, I think the president got really involved in that and participating and talking with peers, and that was very exciting to see at that level, that kind of engagement and really embracing of what that HSI designation meant, again, beyond just the counting of students that were here. When we think about servingness, we think about it in a really broad way. So it's not just serving Latinx students, it really is about serving other BIPOC students and underrepresented students. And you'll hear everyone talking about that today, and they talk about the different programs and initiatives and how things like the HSIC grant and all of the other programs that we do are open to programs that are not only focused on Latinx students, but also BIPOC students and underrepresented students. So really learning what we can from best practices of working with Latinx students and expanding that to not only underrepresented students, but all students on campus, because that's what we're finding is that these approaches really humanize, they are really effective, and really help support the success of our students, which is our ultimate goal, right, for all of us on campus. The importance of this initiative situated in faculty affairs in combination with HSI is really important. It allows us to not only have this done in a way that's separate, but really fully integrated into so many of the different things we do within faculty affairs. So faculty affairs, our mission is to cultivate and connect institutional structures for faculty advancement across their career lifespan, from hire through advancement to retention. We take an ecosystem equity approach to the work that we do, because we do acknowledge that there is not fair representation of all different race, ethnic, or gender groups amongst our faculty. There's not full inclusion or authentic belonging even for our faculty. And so we recognize that there's still a lot of shifts that need to happen, not only at the University of Arizona, but really across all higher education with our peer institutions and everyone else. And so when we're talking about making those shifts in the work that we do as faculty, it's not just focused on what faculty themselves alone can do, but really considering those ecosystems that surround them and acknowledging that all these things need to be lined up and moving in the same direction with the same values for faculty to really feel included, feel the belonging, feel the success and thriving of their work that they do. So any of the things that we do on campus, it's more than just working directly with faculty. It is also working with department heads, deans, senior administrators, president and provost, Arizona Board of Regents, and also our peer institutions. So we do many different activities at each of those. If you want more information about faculty affairs, I could go on and on, but I won't. Go to our website. You can get a lot more information about all the different kind of things that we're doing. We do specifically address HSI initiatives in several different areas. Through recruitment, through the work that we're doing in SPIFFy, and also Steps in Scholar Journey, which is targeting postdoctoral students, not only at U of A, but outside of U of A. Retention with our partnership with HSI Fellows, that you'll hear more about today. And through advancement with the curriculum, the Culturally Responsive Curriculum Design Institute, Development Institute, which Judy will tell you more about. So we're very intentional about making sure that we have it represented at each of those levels and how we're sharing it and implementing it across the ecosystem. I want to highlight success of the initiative that we've had so far. The biggest thing, and Marla will talk more about this, how we came to this idea of hiring an associate vice provost. I know there's a lot of questions or concerns about, too much administrative bloat, and do we need more administrators? But we went through a whole process, and I do think that being able to hire somebody as an associate vice provost within faculty affairs, but who's really focused on developing the capacity of all of our faculty to better serve our students was really strategic and has had a huge impact, especially when our funding model moved away from cluster hiring into more capacity development. So over the past few years, through the work that the three of us have done together, but primarily with Judy leading these initiatives, we have the webinar series, which offers an opportunity to learn more deeply about what Servingness really means, how it's represented here on campus through our faculty and our programs, but also to share those best practices so that others, I think, across the world can access it. We've had incredible attendance and participation in those, and hopefully to get more people interested in participating in those kind of activities. But again, the Culturally Responsive Curriculum Development Program was new, stood up very quickly. We had our first cohort of, 26 faculty who participated. We have another cohort that's going to start again. And then so those faculty go on, they redesign a course. And so that impacts all the students then that take that course and probably any other course they teach once they start thinking about this in a very different kind of way. We worked very closely with Research, Innovation, and Impact, Dr. Betsy Campbell, Vice President for Research, remind me the full title, I'm probably messing it up. Yeah, so through the RII, we've partnered with them to be able to offer HSIC grants. And that was very exciting. We had a tremendous number of applicants, even the first year. Wonderful programs that already got started. They're hopefully moving to bigger programs, scaling up, or newer grants. The other big thing is that Judy has really helped us with hiring activities in faculty affairs far beyond the HSI focused activities. She's been the point person for the Strategic Priority Faculty Initiative, which has since gained another $500,000 from President Robbins to devote to hiring of new faculty. And we've seen a triple number of applications for SPIFFy hires and more than double the number of hires in the last couple of years, which is really exciting and really took that ability of someone who could focus on primarily just that work and working closely with departments and units across campus, particularly some areas that had never submitted for SPIFFy before, despite the fact that the program had been running since 2008. So we're really excited to see the impact that Judy's focus has been able to have in that area that's really broader. There's so many other things. I want to leave it to our very illustrious panel to tell you in their own words what's been going on, what all this means. I want to introduce them very briefly. I'm going to start with Dr. Marla Franco here, who you all know already. And if you don't, she's the Assistant Vice Provost for HSI Initiatives. She has worked in higher education for over 20 years at public universities with a focus on academic and student affairs. In particular, she's led efforts here at the University of Arizona to become one of the first four-year public universities in the state of Arizona to be designated as an HSI in 2018. She's co-authored publications that inform improved practices at HSIs, including assessing the readiness of Hispanic serving institutions to serve Latinx students, moving beyond compositional diversity and engaging community partners to improve STEM education at HSIs. She has many contributions to the field of higher education. She's been recognized many times with a wide variety of awards, including the John Hernandez Leadership Award from the American College Personnel Association, the Edie Auslander Outstanding Support of Hispanic Issues in Higher Ed Award from the Pete C. Garcia Victoria Foundation. I could go on and on. Good idea. Look up her CV, a very important person, and we're very, very grateful that she is here with us at the University of Arizona. She also happens to be a first-generation college student. She has a bachelor's degree in sociology from the University of California, Berkeley, a master's degree in counseling from Cal State Long Beach, and a doctoral degree in higher education leadership from Azusa Pacific University. We have Dr. Judy Marquez-Kiyama with us as well, and we'll see her on the Zoom, I hope. Is she waiting? Yes, she's awesome. Judy, we're so glad you can join us, even if it's on Zoom and not in person. Dr. Marquez-Kiyama is the Associate Vice Provost for Faculty Development and Faculty Affairs. She's also a professor in the Center for the Study of Higher Education, Department of Educational Policy Studies and Practice. Previously, she was a faculty member at the University of Denver and the University of Rochester. As a community-engaged scholar, her research examines structures that shape educational opportunities for minoritized groups. She's worked alongside Latinx families and communities, and that's been at the core of her research efforts. She has at least one or more books on these topics related to funds of knowledge, related to community engaged work with Latinx families. She's committed to building partnerships across academic and higher education sources. She's actually a 3-time graduate of the University of Arizona. So she's alumni 3 times over. We were very, very happy to see her be able to come back full circle in this role. She's a proud former participant of both the New Start Summer Program and the TRIO Student Support Services. We also have with us Ms. Ashley Menaris Gaffer. Did I say it right? Ashley is an associate professor of practice in the School of Nutritional Science and Wellness in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. She has a master's degree in nutrition and dietetics from the State University of New York College. She is a registered dietitian nutritionist. And in 2019, she became part of the HSI Fellows Group. In 2014 to 2019, she coordinated the department's ISPP Dietetic Internship Pathway, which has helped many students connect and successfully complete their internships. She is a member of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, recent past president of the Southern Arizona District for the Arizona affiliate of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. And she was recognized in 2020 as a fellow of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. Good job. Everybody wait, I know who you are. And, we're also very pleased to have with us on the panel today Dr. Tanya Newton, who is an assistant clinical professor in the College of Nursing. In 2021, she received the Lydia Kennedy University of Arizona Health Sciences LGBTQ+ Distinguished Leadership Award. She also received Experiential Design Accelerator Fellowship from the University of Arizona in 2021. That was a She earned her Bachelor of Science in Nursing from Florida Atlantic University, focusing her community-based immersion experience in diabetes and heart health promotion in the Tahlequah, Oklahoma, Cherokee Mission. Thank you. She completed her master's from Charles Drew University School of Medicine and her doctorate in nursing practice from Frontier Nursing University. As a family nurse practitioner, Dr. Newton has experience in family practice, urgent care, bioidentical hormone therapy, enhanced external counter pulsation therapies. That was a lot now. And recently post-acute and long-term care. She has a deep-rooted interest in improving outcomes in patients with chronic disease and empowering healthcare teams to improve patient-centered healthcare, utilizing the Institute for Healthcare Improvement Model Framework to accelerate transformative change. So these are exactly the kind of people we want here with us, right? Because we want to bring that in and make that happen here on campus as well. And then finally, we have Marcella Rodriguez, who's an assistant librarian, foreign, comparative, and international law librarian with James E. Rogers College of Law. We're so excited that you joined us. I actually was part of the team that met with Marcelo to help recruit him in the middle of the pandemic, and he was in New York City, Zooming from the library. That was, let me see if I get this right here too. That you were the research and outreach librarian at the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit in New York City. And I was like, no, really, you want to come to U of A, please.
You did say so.
So I'm so happy that he said yes, and he's here, and he's doing this wonderful work here. He is a professor of foreign and international legal research, as well as an affiliated faculty of University of Arizona Center for Latin American Studies. He has a long, wonderful research background with the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, Columbia Law Library, European Commission in Brussels, Belgium, and the International Criminal Court in The Hague, and the Law Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. Again, another just amazing, tremendous individual that we're so proud to have here at the University of Arizona, but in particular connected with and helping us move forward the HSI initiatives. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up for asking some questions to, I'm going to pose a question to Marla first, and to the panelists, and we'll open up for everybody to throw out some questions. So I'm going to start, if it's okay, with Dr. Franco. So you were there when all of this started with the strategic initiatives. In the early days of when President Robbins first said, okay, we're going to do this, come up with some ideas. And there's a lot of discussion, and there's so many things we want to focus on, of course. How did you come up with the priorities and the focus that we've ended up with now? And in particular, maybe you can tell us a bit more about institutional level change and how that will determine priorities.
Yeah, absolutely. It's wonderful to hear all of the introductions, first of all. So empowering to be accompanied by these other panelists for this afternoon's discussion. So super excited to be here with you all. I think in my comments, I wanted to give a little bit of context to help kind of take people back to kind of an understanding of how some of the input was gathered. Even when the strategic plan discussions and conversations and deliberations started occurring, to really have us kind of vet through what our potential initiatives and priorities could be that we could land on. There were many of discussions that occurred for decades prior to that conversation, right? I think there were many advocates, faculty, staff, students, administrators, community members, alumni, elected officials within our community who really, labored, energy and certainly a lot of heart to advocate for the type of access and educational attainment and wanting to make sure that the University of Arizona was quite reflective of the community that it was nestled within. And so it's interesting because even at the time of becoming an HSI in 2018, a few things kind of happened at that time. And I feel like one of the things that happened is that people kind of came out of the woodworks. Many of our elders within the community kind of came out of the woodworks and really shared with us to help recount some of the important context that they felt we needed to understand. And those stories and those voices and those recollections, I think, grounded us in a sense of place, with a sense of the people that we were trying to serve through these efforts, right? And thinking through the components. What were the right components? What was going to be the mixture of priorities to really push forward, more importantly, right, to build institutional capacity. We knew that we had certainly a certain number of years to leverage the strategic plan and to leverage the strategic funding connected to it. And so how could we really maximize and utilize those funds to the best of our ability to build out dimensions relative to faculty development and faculty affairs to really anchor us in some good and improved practice that really we get to reap the benefits of from years to come. And so not only, I think, did we gather some of that input that was recollected back to us by community members, but one of the other things that happened is that shortly after becoming an HSI, literally, we heard the announcement in April of 2018, and I thought to myself, oh goodness, like the academic year is about to end. Folks are going to start kind of taking off for the academic year, but I want them to feel connected, engaged, and I want to seize that opportunity to convene people on our campus and within the community to gather some input, right? So we actually, in the spring of 2018, hosted 2 HSI visioning forums. And it was a call out to faculty, staff, students, administrators, community members, alumni, whoever wanted to be at the table to really kind of share, connect, learn, and influence. And through that process, it's amazing because I was just going back to some of my notes from 2018 at those 2 visioning forums. And these are the very types of things that community said that they wanted. And so we engaged, we listened, and we carried those insights forward to inform work like this that has now come to fruition. So excited to be partnering, of course, with faculty affairs. I think one of the things that I often say is that, I certainly, encourage, partnerships across campus and highly encourage as well that in the capacity building efforts that are developed around this work, that they be housed within the locations in which that work, that is their primary function and scope of responsibility, right? So that collectively as an institution, we together begin to own and feel obligated and be anchored to this work. So.
Fantastic, thank you. I'm gonna go and turn to Judy. Are you there, Judy?
I'm here.
Oh, it's like the voice of God. I can't see you. You're behind me. Okay. All right. Judy, the next question is for you. Can you describe some of the specific initiatives and programs that have been developed or expanded as part of capacity building goals for faculty as part of this initiative?
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for being here. We're so excited to be able to share this work with you. And I'm sorry I can't be there in person. What I did to prep for this is actually started pulling quite a few of the numbers, and that's what I want to share with you all. So at the close of almost 2 full years of this funding cycle, we have been able to significantly expand 3 of the existing programs or initiatives, continue the incredible HSI Fellows program, and build or launch 8 brand new initiatives across faculty affairs, HSI initiatives. And I think what's so important about that is that none of this work is done in isolation. When I think about all of especially the new programs, the existing programs, it really illuminates the incredible collaborations that happen across campus when we think about institutionalizing this work and when we think about institutionalizing Servingness. So I'm going to run through them super quickly, and we can come back to any of them and certainly go into more detail. One of them is, of course, faculty recruitment and search committee processes that Dr. Romero mentioned. We've been able to really create a robust set of resources and guidelines for faculty search committees that are grounded in research practice, our peer institution practices, inclusive practices around hiring, the newest research and policies that are coming out, and these guidelines are updated regularly. We have a search committee training that'll be back up on Edge very quickly for the fall searches, and this is a much more accessible training, a much more efficient training for faculty search committees. And we have regular meetings that happen with search committee chairs, deans, department heads that have resulted in about 25, 26 individual meetings per financial quarter. So we're doing quite a bit of outreach around this. The other piece that has been expanded is SPIFFy, and this is another one that Andrea mentioned. Usually in a typical cycle, we would have 4 or 5 new faculty come on board. This year, we welcomed 11 new SPIFFy faculty. We had 29 applications come through this funding cycle. So we're on par, right, to welcome in a pretty big class or cohort again this next year. We now have a mentoring component for SPIFFy. We have community building activities for SPIFFy, and we saw increased funding from President Robbins in particular this year. So the SPIFFy has grown considerably. We also have the Centering Servingness webinar series, which was also mentioned, where we've highlighted incredible work that our faculty are doing across campus, across the country, internationally. Last year, we saw 500 plus registrants. This year, we had over 700. All of these are accessible on the websites. And so please take advantage of them. We launched a Grant Development Institute in November in partnership with RII, where we had 20 participants come through. We have seen increased grant activity, including 12 proposals that have been submitted just this year alone. And that's in partnership with folks sitting on this panel, in partnership with other faculty across campus. And one that I'll highlight that was awarded was our Title III $5 million Project CREAR project that Kimberly Sierra Cajas is the PI on. CREAR is culturally responsive engagement, articulation, and research, and really aims to improve our STEM pathways for students. We have now a grant proposal tracking system in partnership with RII. So we know which proposals are being submitted that are in alignment with HSI work and minority student services, MSIs, minority serving institution efforts. We launched the Culturally Responsive Curriculum Development Institute last summer. We had 22 faculty come through and redesign a course that served over 2,000 students. So we're welcoming another group in this summer and expanding it to also include those faculty that are part of the Title III grant that I mentioned that are teaching STEM gateway courses. We also, I just have a couple more, I promise. We are launching the Steps in the Scholar Journey program in June and welcoming in 12 to 15 postdoctoral fellows from across the country who are aspiring into faculty positions. And this is built again from a culturally responsive lens that honors who they are as faculty, prospective faculty. This is done in partnership with Native American Advancement, Tribal Engagement, Native American Initiatives, and of course, HSI initiatives. We have our HSI seed grants. Last year, we awarded 7 seed grants to teams that are doing incredible work that benefit queer, trans, BIPOC communities, often in partnership with those communities. And the funding for that has doubled this year. So we're excited to announce the new recipients in June. And this is again in partnership with RII. We launched an HSI AZ consortium with collaborators across the state and the 16 HSIs in Arizona. And we partnered with Excelencia in Education to offer a leadership institute for 10 teams, institutional teams across the country who are doing faculty development work. So we've been busy. This work has been incredibly rewarding. It's been in response to both faculty needs at our institution and across the country. And I, again, want to reiterate that none of this could have happened without the deep collaboration and commitment to institutionalizing the work.
Thank you, Dr. Marcus-Yama. I'm going to go ahead and turn it to our 3 faculty members who are with us today on the panel. And you all, I'll pose a question. You can go in whatever order feels the most natural to you. Tell us about the ways in which you've engaged with HSI initiatives and faculty affairs. Tell us more about how you manifested the HSI designation through your work and the work that you're doing with students or your own campus. Of course, for me personally, I would love to know also why it's important to you or what the meaningfulness of the work is to you as an individual. Does anybody like to start?
Okay, I'll start. So basically, I would say that in reference to faculty development, I took advantage of all the activities that we've done, from basically going to a lecture by Dr. Montoya, which is about cultural responsive pedagogy, and then after that, having a workshop immediately, being able to actually utilize those tools and put that into perspective. And then after that, I decided to, or I was accepted into the Culturally Responsive Development Institute, where, which was amazing, where it was a collaborative faculty for a week, where we worked together to redesign our syllabus, but more so really to understand the path of service and the servingness of an Hispanic institute, and how we can make servingness or transformational changes with our students so that they can present authentically in the classroom, because when they do that, they are successful. And after that, that inspired me to do the Accelerator Workshop, which is about civic engagement. Again, it was because I attended the Cultural Responsive Pedagogy Institute, and it has to do about transforming students, engaging the community. And so another set of tools. And then after that, I think I'm surprised I haven't gotten kicked out yet, but because I've taken advantage of everything that they have offered that I had put on my plate. And then I also went to the Hispanic HSI grant development, another amazing activity. So, and how this has transpired into my work because of that. I came up with the bright idea to really embrace a gen ed course. I'm from the College of Nursing. We don't do gen ed course. I teach family nurse practitioners. But because of this journey in service, I said, you know what? I must respond. And so my fellow colleagues are here, Jose Munoz and Lisa Kaiser, we decided to go on this journey to put a proposal forward for a gen ed course, Health Equity Jedi, healing ourselves and the earth in these urgent times. And so this is just one product on how it overflowed and how I pulled in my other fellow faculty on this journey. And I just continue to do that with everyone within my college. And it's just an amazing journey of just servingness. So.
I feel like you're my future. Like I'm talking to myself. Because my path has been eerily similar, actually. I want to tell everyone the other side of the story when I met Dr. Romero, as well as when I was Zooming with Dr. Adriana Arroyo. One of the reasons why it was important for me to talk to them is because I was talking to my, my current library director, Teresa Miguel Stern, and she actually started talking about the speed, the opportunity, and my contributions here, and how is that going to look like as an openly gay a person coming all the way from New York to Tucson. It felt overwhelming. It felt scary. I didn't really know where I was going to be. And we talked about this idea of bringing your authentic self, your complete self to everything you do. I wanted to make sure that the persons that I was going to meet was not just going to be Teresa. Teresa and I having lunch every day. I wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity for me to find the community that will accept me as I am. And I would also provide me the resources to actually share my story with other people as well. And that's why actually we met, and I was convinced that this was going to be my future. And we started with this PP program. And actually, I was telling, actually to you as well, I think the first weeks when I was here, Teresa also offered me the opportunity to apply for the HSI fellowship. And I said to her, of course, that sounds exactly what I want to do. It's very meaningful. And also something that I was already doing actually back in the courthouse. So my work back in the federal judicial system we were engaging with high school students, specifically high school students that did not have a connection with the federal court system, and we would teach them, we would actually bring them to the courthouse, and we would teach them about the rule of law, and we would empower them to see themselves in the system, to go and study the law, and to understand more. And I told Teresa, it sounds fantastic, it sounds like this fellowship could be the vehicle for me to do something here, and that's gonna be my project. But it feels like I'm meeting some fantastic people that want to just make things happen. And it feels so just special and transformative at the same time. I'm just so grateful to be a part of this group. Yeah.
Well, just to piggyback on that, that's the essence of what as I was thinking this morning about what do I really want to touch on is sort of what all of these programs and initiatives and experiences provide. And it's this coming together of like-minded people with a really strong core set of shared values that are personal and professional, and getting to connect with so many people from very different disciplines, different corners of the university who I would never come in contact with. And if I did, you don't necessarily get at the root of what is going to bring us together over the long haul. And in these initiatives, because they're so values driven and equity oriented, that's why we're all self-selecting, right, to come and be a part and engage. And so in doing that, we get to expand our networks in really powerful, meaningful ways. I participated in the second cohort of the HSI Fellows Program. And at the time, I was looking for some more structured leadership development and also just to get outside of my unit. And I really wanted to start to find ways to expand my sphere of influence. I am a dietitian, and the majority of my teaching and mentoring is focused on training future registered dietitian nutritionists, or in the graduate program, I have some dietitians already who are earning their masters. So that professional pathway continues to and has historically really lacked diversity, as many allied health professions and health professions in general, other professional pathways have. And the profession as a whole has really struggled, and educators have struggled to I think, make the meaningful types of progress in our policies and the ways of doing things in the environments that we provide in the classroom, programmatically, but around the country. And so that's sort of the why and why it's personal to me. I was a first generation college student. I attended the University of Arizona. I was a transfer student. And so I have all of these personal experiences, knowing what it feels like to maybe not feel like familiar with, or that I had a support system, but not those connections where I felt like confident doing what I was doing, or, you know, and so that's behind my personal why. But anyways, HSI Fellows was a great experience, very experiential, very immersive. I got a really strong sense of community that continues to grow as I meet people who also participate in these initiatives. And as a result, I'd say I've gotten involved in so many things. I've basically, I think Tanya mentioned, fill your plate with all the things you can. Basically, I have been actively working for the past few years to shift as many things off my plate to make room for all of these things, because they're at the highest. And so now when I think about my plate, it's filled to the brim with all of these opportunities, service experiences, grant programs and proposals, teaching practices that I've made space for, but that have been made available through all of the programs and initiatives that Marla, Judy, and Andrea have talked about today. And I don't want to go over because time flies really fast, but I did just want to say that probably the biggest accomplishment has been, after the HSI Fellows, Marla knew that I was interested in applying for more education-focused grants, more student-centered programming type funding opportunities, and she really started giving me the encouragement and the nudge to go after those, and connected me with a whole set of people and resources and the tools that I needed to be successful in that. And since 2021, I've now been a part of 3 federal USDA grant submissions, 2 HSI grants. One has been funded, another one I'm waiting on feedback any day. And a multicultural scholars program grant, which I'll hear about later. And also I've submitted some internal proposals and gotten some student programs going. So it really just, these resources and programs and professional development that I've gotten from HSI fellows, and also the expanding portfolio of things out of faculty affairs, have really equipped me with more of the vocabulary and the support systems and the knowledge that can give me the how and like the frameworks to really move my values forward in my work, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you to all three of you. I love this analogy of the plate and what we're putting on our plate and what we're taking off our plate, and because that plate basically it nourishes us, right, in so many ways. But it sounds like you all not only filled your plate, you filled plates of many other people as well. So for those people out there who may be listening today, who might be hungry for more of this kind of opportunity or this kind of work, I mean, certainly you laid out the case for all the different kind of programs for them to participate in. But what other kind of things do you think that people could do to really help advance that larger mission of servingness to our students? This is open to anybody. Marla, Judy, any of our panelists.
Looking at me.
I always got something to
Maybe
say.
what they're thinking, I might just take an opportunity to say a quick thank you to Andrea and Marla. They're sort of the epitome of what you want a strategic initiative to be, because they have taken this and made it into this. And it's just fabulous that when I hear about all the impact and the number of programs, other programs that have launched, and the success that you've had and the number of people that you've impacted, it's just exactly what strategic initiatives were intended to do. And so we really are very, very appreciative for your efforts. Thank you.
I think the thing that I want to add is, I think the most important thing is like capacity building. And I think that was just so important. And so that's why it's just gotten bigger and bigger, and just kind of following that path of serviceness and accompaniment. And then just offering all these amazing tools and workshops and platforms so that we all could be our authentic self. And so that we could engage in the community in service. And then most of all, engage our students and fellow faculty with that. With the HSI.
I think there are always opportunities to contribute. I think one of the most amazing things when you're a librarian, you're a professor, right? There's so many different users, there's so many different groups of people that you interact with. I'm a big believer of the idea that teaching and learning also happens outside of the traditional classroom, right? And that happens really at the library, right? When the students come and the different services that we provide for them. That I think that one of the things that I connect that with servingness is really reaching out to student groups or just individual students that are struggling. They're going through a lot of their own problems and issues, and the library and the librarians are there, and that we can identify what they're struggling, what they're dealing with, and we can help them, right? And I think that takes them out of this traditional script of the professor and the students, the content they're supposed to learn. That the librarians can actually play a very critical role in that process of belonging, right? And that bringing them together and actually allowing them to see all the different opportunities, including HSI and other, that this is their space and that they have something to say and it's valuable, and we can help them do that.
Yeah, just to add, I think because capacity building, all the initiatives are designed to build capacity by making capacity builders, if that makes sense. So like, it's a very ripple effect, and that is the intention, and I think that's what we're seeing. And I think that the way that this work advances servingness is by there's always more context provided, and it seems like everything can apply to anybody in any discipline. And I think that in years past, when there would be, say, a diversity and inclusion workshop of some sort, and I'm just using this blanket term, there's a lot of this, the people who this is for me, and the people who are like, oh, I don't need to do that, it doesn't apply to my class or whatnot. But I think that what these initiatives have done is they've brought so much context to how this work is relevant across the board in our institution and higher education spaces. And it's like, the only way I can describe it is it's illuminating. It turns a light bulb on, I think, for a lot more people. And I think that's by design. It's in the approach to the work. It needs to benefit everybody, and that's how capacity is built, and that's how more and more people from different disciplines who come together around those shared values then can collaborate and do more and so forth.
Well, I'm excited.
There's more to
And
come.
it's the end of the semester, so I'll take a lot. I want to throw it out there. If there's any questions from the audience that's here with us in person, or Judy, if you have any questions, you can throw in the chat.
I have a question. If we're not part of like the HSI Fellows program, for example, but we want to be more involved, if we want to write grants and get some initiatives out there, how would you recommend we go about doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my colleague over here, Riley McIsaac, serves as our Associate Director for HSI Grants Development. And so she would definitely be our kind of first point of contact. And then she kind of pulls in the rest of us to provide a supportive network to help you identify things that you might be interested in pursuing and how we can best serve as a mechanism of support throughout the process. So absolutely would love to connect with you to hear more about your ideas. So.
I'm kind of curious, you mentioned a project tracking system that you've implemented. With such a huge university, which I've discovered over the last few years, how do you know about all the work that everyone's doing? Is that a challenge?
Yes, great question. So that was actually always an interest and endeavor that we certainly had aspirations to develop in partnership with our Research Development Office, RII, a tracking system, right? So that it would help flag and identify three kind of oriented or levels of submissions leaving our institution, right? So these were grant proposals that were being submitted that were HSI exclusive. So for example, grants that required us to be an HSI. Then we had an HSI related grant category, which sometimes calls for proposals asks, it's a call out to minority serving institutions which are inclusive of HSI, as well as other institutions like tribal colleges and universities, historically Black colleges and universities. So we wanted to flag those types of things too. Then our third aspect of a flag was kind of any grant proposal that really may be focused on diversity, inclusion, and equity efforts. Institutional transformation relative to D&I. And so those three components, we worked with RII to create an indicator so that as part of the submission system, that was a required question, right, that submitters had to respond to. And if your answer was yes to any of those three things, then it created a flag in a system, right, that now allows for a reporting feature. And not only does that data get curated for us, that actually was only recently launched within the past couple of months, although we have been working on it for quite some time. And now Riley and I are like, we've got like this mound of data. And so it's helping us kind of inform strategy, right? To really kind of maybe think through, you know, a set of faculty and staff, right, that are actively pursuing these types of funds, to reach out to them to see if additional resources, training, guidance, coaching through the process might be of benefit and interest to them, right? And also just to kind of get a sense, right, of who's really trying to approach this work and wanting to be in partnership with them, so that we really are approaching the work from an equity asset-based lens that really kind of centers the designation in a very thoughtful, mindful, and intentional way. So we're making progress. Riley and I have already committed some summertime to really kind of pull through the data that we've collected this semester alone, so that we can really begin to start understanding the nature of those submissions, being able to look at project abstracts, the faculty who are engaged, what departments and colleges they're affiliated with, right? And then ultimately being able to track, their success rate and continuing to work with those who are interested in resubmissions.
Any other questions? Judy, do you have any questions out there in Zoomlandia?
No, none have come in. But what I do maybe want to just quickly say is expanding on what Ashley mentioned about the ripple effect, right? Which I think is an important thing to note in terms of how to continue to engage. And I think this is one of the most powerful and exciting things that we've seen is that this work doesn't stop with these programs. It doesn't stop when the week-long Curriculum Development Institute is over. It's faculty then going back to their curricular teams and sharing that information forward, or going back to their entire departments or colleges and sharing it, or new research teams coming together in interdisciplinary ways that then apply for HSIC grants or apply for external funding. So in terms of how to become more involved or engaged, it doesn't always have to be through a formal program, but through all of these incredible faculty and with all of these incredible faculty who have already participated, because certainly the work doesn't stop with us or with the programs. And so I think one of the most powerful pieces is the expansion work that the faculty who have gone through continue to take forward.
Thank you, Judy. No other questions? Is there anyone else on the
I'm really intrigued with the culturally responsive pedagogy courses and wondering how we can encourage all of our instructors in any particular department to participate in them. Can we bring the instructors here to our units to make it more convenient for our faculty, things like that? Yeah. Judy?
I didn't hear the very beginning of that question. Can somebody repeat it?
Yeah, so Judy, the question was about really, how can we get more faculty involved in the culturally responsive Curriculum Development Institute, and even the potential idea of bringing it intentionally to certain colleges, right? So maybe having college-specific partnerships where we kind of bring the institute to them in some ways.
Yeah, great question. There's still room this year. If people are interested, please reach out. And so that's one plug. But a few things are happening. I think one, as I mentioned, is that some of the faculty who have already participated then are going back and sharing that information. And that's, I think, really important in terms of building capacity within individual departments and units. We've partnered really intentionally with the Office of Instruction and Assessment, and they're an incredible resource. Masha Jameen is one of the key partners in this work. And so we've developed a series of shorter workshops that we've been sharing throughout the year, almost as little snippets, right? And we'll tailor it to the particular discipline and whomever is in the audience, so that we're sharing it in smaller bites as a way to just get the conversations going, knowing that there are faculty likely within the college already who have been through the institute who can help continue to move it forward. But I'd love to keep talking about making some of this a little bit more discipline specific. This year in particular, we have a heavier focus on some of the STEM work because of the connection to the Title III grant.
And I love the direction that the thinking of the questions is going, because it is about how do we create that big culture shift, right? And sometimes it takes more than one person. It takes it takes that critical mass to really, tilt things in a different direction. And sometimes it takes the leaders to say, no, we're doing this as a whole unit. So I think that's a really strategic way to kind of wrap up our session today. We're all here. You can find us, email us. We're here to help. We're here to answer questions. We're here to connect you with anything that's out there, support you, and other ideas or things that you want to help move forward in Servingness for the University of Arizona. I want to thank all of our panelists. Thank you. I know it's the busiest time of the year. We appreciate your time, your energy, your effort, all the things you've done already, all the things you are doing and are going to do. The students, thank you. They really, really do. Even if they don't tell you every day. They make a difference in their lives. They'll come back in a year and tell you how transformative it was for them as teachers. I want to thank the Office of Strategic Initiatives for hosting this event. We're so appreciative of the strategic plan, the funding. I want to encourage all of our attendees to reach out to us just to stay in conversation or even propose new collaborations on any of these related topics. And we're going to hang out here just for a little bit and happy to talk with you one-on-one. Thank you to everyone out there on Zoom. We look forward to hopefully seeing everybody in person sometime in the near future. And good luck to everybody in the semester on hand.